Hey everybody, welcome back to the X-Foils podcast. I'm sitting here with
Marley
Franco, better known as Gnarly Marley, which we'll have to get into the story of why that's like that. So I'm sitting here in his garden actually, which is pretty epic. Beautiful spot, man. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, anytime.
We had one session the other day.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't been able to session with you much because I've been just downwinding.
Yeah.
And you just finished the races, right? The Triple Crown.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Downwinding, I assume, just every single day.
Pretty much.
Must get, you know, at the end, when the races were done, you can tell me, were you just downwinded out or you're like wanted to take a break?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think I downwinded for maybe like the first 3 or 4 days. Maybe like, 5 at most. And then just taking it chill and just hanging out with some friends, did some wing jumping off some sand dunes and just like having fun.
Yeah.
And then got back into it. The wind was just too good. I mean, you can't be on Maui and not do anything.
Yeah, so I've been here for 2.5 weeks and wind every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of you guys would consider that it's not windy some days, but for, you know, when it's 20 knots, for me, that's windy. Like, I'm looking this morning, what time is it? 9:30.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's already windy. Like, this is as much wind as we get in Puerto Rico. And I went kiting yesterday, and I was pumping up my kite, and I know my lines were a little bit off, so I tied it to a sign, and I look at the sign, and it says no launching until 11 o'clock. And I was like, what? I was down in Kanaha. It was like 10 o'clock. I'm like, no way, I have to wait another hour. The wind was like ripping. I'm like, I was wondering why there was no kites. So what's the deal? Like fisherman rule or something like that?
Yeah.
It's like a law from back in the day?
Yeah, so it's more for the fishermen and the divers, so it's like a courtesy.
Yeah.
Most of the divers go out in the morning when there's not as much wind before it comes up, and then when it gets like super windy, they mostly come in, but a lot of fishermen and divers for the morning, and then they let them have like the period where there's not much wind, and then once it turns 11, it's more kiters and better to go out and do wind sports.
Yeah. Is there any spot along here that you are allowed to launch? Like you'd go winging early in the morning or no?
Not really, no. It's kind of just like the whole island. It's kind of like you wait until 11 for like wind sports.
Huh.
But North Shore is the main spot.
I guess it gives you a little bit, you know, of like a schedule.
Yeah.
You know, because if it's windy every single day, then at least you wait until 11 o'clock and then you have your wind sports. In the morning you're doing your surfing. So I want to get into a little bit of background of like how you got into your water sports, what you got into first. I assume it was surfing or bodyboarding. So tell me just a little bit of history. You know, you're here on Maui, beautiful place, local here.
Yeah.
Grew up here. So just tell me how you got into surfing and then we'll segue into foiling.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, I kind of just grew up in the water. If it wasn't surfing, it was just like body surfing, boogie boarding. So like, I mean, I used to live down on the beach with in Sprek, so that also helped too, just next to Kai and all those guys, watching everybody. And just growing up in the ocean on an island surrounded by the ocean is kind of inevitable.
Yeah.
You're just in the water, surfing, stand-up paddle, just everything. And then a little bit later, I got into foiling when it came out, and it was pretty popular. I learned that and kind of just started going from there. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
What was your first sport on a foil? Was it kite foiling or surf foiling?
I'd have to say it was probably kite foiling, yeah. Learned to kite foil from Kainani, Scott Drexler, they taught me. Mm-hmm. And from there I just started wing foiling, prone foiling, and I mean, all the doors just opened.
So you're sponsored by North and Mystic.
Correct.
And when did you get sponsored by them? Was that for kite surfing or was that when foiling came out? So how long have you been on the team?
I joined in 2020. It was a COVID sponsor. So me and Jesse, we were close with Jesse, and North was doing the Next Gen program. Yeah. So it was like essentially they had like a pro rider like teaming up with a younger athlete that was like helping them and working with them. Mm-hmm. And from there, me and Jesse were just like foiling all the time, kiting. He was teaching me some more kite stuff.
That's cool.
And some freestyle.
What a great mentor.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane. It was one of the best mentors I could have had for sure.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, everything started growing from there, and got better at foiling, took it to the waves. Yeah, it was a nice flow.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not on the North team. I consider myself the North team, but I'm more of like a rep and a dealer for them, but I'm really close with the team and I love what they're doing.
Yeah.
Early on, I was into foiling, and they just weren't. They hadn't launched their like foil division. It kind of slowly crept up.
Yeah.
Right. And you're 16 now.
Yep.
And I mean, back then, I mean that's 4 years ago, dude. You're just like a.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the foils that they came out with in the beginning were kite foils, and they were like these swept back. It was like an 850 and an 1150, which must have been huge for you.
Yeah. I remember most of the time when I was winging, we were developing smaller foils, and I mostly learned pretty much to wing on a HA 1250.
Damn.
So yeah, and then
that's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty big with the 210 tail. So that's how I got started, and then one day we had a bright idea to cut it down and shorten it a bit.
So you chopped it yourself?
Yeah, we chopped it. It was pretty fun. That helped a bit, and then they just started coming out and producing some pretty insane foils.
Yeah.
So now we have like the MAV, the mid aspects, V2s, and we have everything.
The SF.
Surf foils, yeah.
We've got downwind foils.
Yeah, those are coming out soon, so.
Which I've been testing out a lot. I mean, I don't get their foils first. I assume you guys, being on the team, but you're in Maui. I mean, it's a water sports mecca.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like
being here is just, I mean, you watch it from back in the day, and it was kiting, right?
Yeah.
And you see all these guys, and Robbie Nash, and Jesse Richmond, and just like the prestige of like what this place is, and Kai Lenny, and so it's really cool that you grew up, and I mean, your family has to be a huge support system. You don't even have a driver's license. You're living up here up in the hills.
Yeah.
So to go in session, I mean, your parents have to be a huge advocate to that, and they must be athletes as well, right? So it's all. I mean, everyone here on Maui, it's just this tight community.
Sure.
When you started to learn how to foil, and you were surfing, were you strictly using North, or did you start on anything beforehand?
I think I started on Takuma. So Ciro from Takuma, he was a good friend of ours. So he was like, he got me started, and I remember my first gear was some Takuma foils and wings, the wing ride. Okay. So that was like the first gear that I learned on and that I started, and then since I got better and better, I just started growing, and then I went and moved to North and those guys, and then the level just skyrocketed. Yeah. And everyone just started getting better. Yeah. I remember, I think I was probably 12 or 13, and I was out winging with like Cash, Otis, and the Spencer brothers, and I think it was Finn Spencer that landed like the first like backflip, and we were all like freaking out. And then now you have like the GWA tour, and everyone's just like doing these insane tricks, and like not too long ago the first backflip in winging was landed, so it's pretty cool. Yeah. What's your plan with, because you've got all these sports, man. I mean, you're surfing, you're foil surfing, then you're pumping, then you're downwind foiling, you're kiting, kite surfing, kite foiling. So there's so many different like disciplines that you've got like right in your back door. What's your main focus? I know that it recently was downwinding because of these races, right? So you wanted to participate. North's got their new downwind foils. They've got their new downwind board. So I assume that was really important, to be part of that as well. But what's your main focus? Like, what are you really trying to push? Are you going to go to competition? Are you doing it more lifestyle? Is this something you're really pursuing? Or? Yeah, I really want to go do some of the GWA surf events, the wave. Those look insane. For the winging? Yeah, for winging. Those look pretty nuts. Like Cabo Verde looked like insane this year. That was crazy. So so I'm hoping to get out to a couple of those. Maybe start first time Brazil this year, and then hopefully next year do it more of it. And I mean, it's kind of like what the conditions are best. So in the winter, there's a lot of big wave surfing, big wave foiling. Like, definitely want to head out to Jaws next year and foil. Like, tow foil Jaws. That seems pretty nuts. So I want to do that. A little nerve-wracking. Have you been out there? Yeah. So I've surfed it a couple times, towed in. But I definitely want to. I'm hungry. Want to get foiling. Yeah. So it takes a lot. So I'm ready to train this year, and then summer comes around. A lot of downwind kiting. That in between the waves to get good and the wind comes up, so it's like a fine line of like, downwinding, or like, oh wait, wing foil surfing or big wave surfing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's whatever the conditions are best for. You're probably out there.
Yeah,
doing that. Yeah.
I mean specifically. I mean, this is a foil podcast specifically, but I mean water sports in general, right? Mm-hmm. But it's all condition based.
Yeah.
For me, it's the same, but you know, when the conditions are good for one thing, it could be good for the same, you know, different sports. So you gotta figure out what you want to do. I'm specifically downwind foiling a lot because it just, I mean, it's so new for us in Puerto Rico. It's in the last year it's picked up, and we have like a crew of like 7-8 people. Here it's like 25, 30, 40, 50. I mean, it's insane. You go down to the harbor, or you go to Maliko, or you go down to Kihei, which I took you on your first Kihei runs, which I was like, what? No way.
I know, I'm surprised I've never done one before. I mean,
I've done more Kihei runs since I've been here than Maliko's.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the wind's been a little bit more north, so that's when it kind of turns on over there. And I was like, you went with us. I was like, you've never done a Kihei? Like, that's wild.
My first time.
Such a fun run, right? Yeah. And you did it two that day when you came with us?
Day. Yeah, I mean, during the M2O and M2M like training, everyone's just so locked in with like the Maliko and the North Shore.
Yeah.
And like flying over Oahu a couple times, doing some Hawaii Kai runs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did some of the Voyager foil races over there. That was pretty fun. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was pretty cool. But it's just it's like a super you're into it. Like you're gonna go like every day 2 or 3 runs. You're gonna like train, and then I mean. And then after that, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna do a Kihei run. Like this is cool.
Yeah, it's like, more of like a fun run, right?
Yeah.
I think if you're really training for the races, the way that Kihei stacks up, because it's strictly wind swell, and it kind of felt like for me Hood River. If you've ever downwinded in Hood River, you haven't.
No, I haven't.
Are you going to AWSI?
Yeah, I think so. Up? So I'm planning to.
Okay.
That one seems pretty. Yeah, I want to go downwind there. Last year I was getting into it. I was like, this was my first year like learning like to fully downwind. So this is the first like summer that I've like started like actually downwinding. So it's pretty cool. I like it, but yeah, I definitely want to head to Hood River. I've seen videos and the bumps just look insane. Yeah,
I mean, so it's very similar to what Kihei is, and that feel. It's just like wave after wave, and you can go back, but when you're racing, it's all like forward and pumping and pumping, and I mean, I love the downwinding, but doing the races for me personally, I'm just like, oh my god, like so much work. Yeah, right? And that's not why. I mean, my being an athlete is over for me. I never was, and I never will be. So, but I can do these things for fun. So when I go out there, and we were doing a Maliko with all these guys, and they're like, hey, let's see how fast we can go. And I'm like, oh, and it's just like you're just blowing by bumps, right? And just pumping and pumping and pumping. You do one turn to the back, and it's over. Like 3-4 guys are past you. Yeah. Right. So that's cool that it was actually your first year getting into downwinding. So you were training on this new board. I guess you had a couple of their prototypes in the beginning, like I did. Yeah. And then, now there's this production Horizon North board, which is working really well for you. I mean, you're small and light, so you're on their smallest. It's a 610 by 18, 95 liters. Yeah,
pretty small board considering.
Yeah, I mean, for you, it's a decent size, right? How long did it take you to learn how to go out there, pump up, get up on the swell? Did you do anything beforehand, like flat water paddling, or did you find it easy to learn? Because it took me months to learn how to pop up and actually get a mile ride on foil. It just took months. I mean, conditions in Puerto Rico are different, but that's not an excuse. It just, for me, it took such a long time to learn how to paddle it and get my balance and actually learn how to, being on foil, I'm very comfortable on foil. Yeah. You're an amazing foiler.
Thank you.
Man, I'm gonna put up some videos on my YouTube, and me and Arlen talked about it in our first episode of you ripping in the waves, right?
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
But yeah, what was that process learning how to downwind like? Because you did pretty good in the races.
Yeah, I growing up, there was a period where the coolest thing was downwind, downwind paddling, like regular downwind on the SUP, and then also SUP surfing. So I remember like the coolest kids were always downwind paddling, Ulukai. Like a bunch of me and my friends were like Ulukai, Paddle-a-Mua, all these races that were.
And you were doing that with a paddle?
Yeah, on the downwind paddle. And then we'd always go like surfing on the west side, like stand-up paddle surfing. So I mean, yeah, and mixing with the foiling and the prone, it's just, it's like a good combination. So I had a lot of practice and like a lot of mental like connections from before.
Yeah.
So
I had no idea that you did that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done every water sport that's possible then.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, growing up here, I mean, everyone is doing one thing and then everyone's like, oh yeah, let's all do that. And then there's another thing and everyone's like, oh, let's all do that. So it's just like a level of everyone's doing one thing and keep pushing it up and up.
Yeah.
So yeah, downwind paddling was pretty big here.
Yeah.
So.
And how long did it take you?
I mean, I think the first time I went out was with my friend Ryu from Japan. He was here, and we went with Andrea Muller. Like, all right, let's go out and learn to downwind. And that was my first time actually downwinding. And I remember I didn't have a leash on because I like forgot it in the car. And we were out far, and she towed him up, and he was trying to prone, like downwind on the prone board. Yeah. And she's like, all right, go down, I'll meet you there. And I lost the board and I was just swimming in the ocean.
No way.
Yeah, and I was
with your downwind board?
Yeah, I was borrowing one of hers, and I fell, and I was like, oh no, like I'm out here like far, and then like I was like far, like a mile away from the jet ski maybe, and then I was like waving my paddle. I was like, oh, you might want to get me, and then they came and picked me up, and that was it was a slightly intimidating experience, but I was like, okay, this is real, like. If I want to do this, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And then...
So when you went out, you realized when you first went out that you don't have a leash and you're like, I'll be fine?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because I was like, okay, I'm just going to be with the jet ski the whole time.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And then I kind of broke off a little bit and she's like, it's fine, like I'll catch up to you. And I was like, okay. And then after that, I took a break for a little bit and I was like, yeah, I don't know, it scared me a little bit. I was like, I'm going to take a little break. And then, yeah, and then maybe a couple months later, it was the new heat, and everyone's like, oh, downwinding, and then M2O, and I was originally going to wing foil the M2O. I was going to, like, do it on the wing.
This event?
This year. And then I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do it, like, I really want to do it. So then I'm like, I'm going to downwind this. With little downwind experience, except for that one time, I, like, just started training the whole summer.
Damn.
And I was just like, I'm, like, full force, like, I'm going to do this. So I was pretty stoked.
Nice.
But yeah, I'd say, yeah, it took me that first time that I started to get up on the foil, felt it around, and then I took a break after a little scare. But I was like, yeah, if I want to be an athlete, I need to do this. So
yeah, you need to do everything.
For sure. Yeah.
So, what's the most exciting thing about the downwinding? Do you this feeling of being out there and connecting the waves, or do you like just seeing how fast you can go?
I personally like riding the waves. Yeah. It's like the Kihei run was like my favorite. Yeah. I don't know if there's like any run better than Kihei that I've ridden so far, other than Hood River, which I want to try that one. Yeah. But I mean
mentally as well, because you were like training, and then it was all over, and then we went to Kihei and did this like beautiful surfy fun session, and you're like, that was the best run ever.
Yeah, it was such a treat. Yeah. I was like, dude, this is insane. Why am I not doing this? Yeah. Because like, yeah, most of the time I was going from Maliko just like fast as you could, just like speed, and then as soon as like the M2O and M2M were over, I was like, oh, okay, let's take it
relax
chill
a little bit.
Yeah, and then I did a couple runs and I was just like carving like the whole way. Yeah. It was pretty fun. Yeah. So, I mean, I think just carving and just riding the waves and the swell is it's probably the funnest part.
Yeah. There's just always, I mean, between all of you guys, there must be so much competition going on all the time, right? Yeah. Like your friends, all of you guys rip. Yeah. And there's this, like, everyone's pushing each other's level. For sure. Right? And downwinding's the same with everybody. Everybody's like, oh, how fast did you go? Oh, who's first? Or I'm trying to go the slowest now. Yeah. Like this last couple of weeks, I'm like, how slow can I go? Because there's no reason for me to go fast, because then the run is over and I'm like, oh man, all I want to do is be out there. So why not try to be as slow and as chill as possible. But there was a time where I'm like, yeah, how fast can I go? And how, like, so there's always this competition going around. And how is it between, I guess you've got some core friends that you guys are always going out with and pushing this winging thing, which is, man, your guys' level is insane. Your level, like wearing straps and going on these waves and getting airs and like sliding your foil and just doing crazy things. Like, it just scares the crap out of me, like thinking about what you guys do with those straps on. And how's that, like that level between you guys and the competition? Is it's friendly, it's healthy, it's like it pushes each other, right?
For sure, yeah. Well, I'll like go out, like sometimes I'll call my friends and I'm like, yeah, you guys want to go wing? And he's like, yeah, meet me down there. And I was like, you want to come pick me up first? Because I can't drive yet, so I'm working on it. Almost, getting my license soon.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, I'll come pick you up. And then we all just go down. We'll like be pumping up really fast, like whoever can get out there first. And then we'll just be like all rushing. And then it's like an awesome experience. Yeah. It's just, you have all your friends down there. I mean, it's not like you're all like competing. When you're training, it's like a positive environment, that's it. Yeah. So it's like no one's like, oh man, this or that. It's like everyone's like, oh, that was sick. Like, and then we're all just trying new stuff. Like, oh, like one of my friends will do something, and then like we'll all be like, oh yeah, let's all try that, and then we'll all get it, and then we'll just keep like just doing all these crazy stuff, and it's pretty fun.
That's cool.
So yeah.
And all of you guys are within the same age?
Yeah, a couple of them are older than me. Some of them are like 17, 18, or most of them are 18 now, but yeah, I'm kind of the guinea pig, so a little bit younger, a little bit smaller. Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah, I like it. It's cool. It's nice to hang out with like people who are a bit older than you. I learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
Jesse's now not on the North team anymore. Was he part of that with the winging? Because you don't see much of him winging in his like media production, right?
Yeah.
And what he puts out, because he's a core kite surfer. Did he also wing with you?
Oh, for sure.
Was that part of it?
Yeah, I remember a couple sessions, me and him were out at we're at Mama's or Lane's, and we just got just destroyed in the waves. I remember a couple of times I would pop a wing, or he would lose his board, and we'd just have a yard sale. Oh, and it was pretty fun though. And Jesse's just such an uplifting guy.
Yeah.
That no matter the situation, he's just positive. He's super cool.
Yeah.
So it was super cool to be out there with everyone who's just super stoked and happy, and everyone's just having a good time.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. I liked it.
And everybody that you're hanging out with, your friends, are they also on teams? Are they sponsored and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a couple of friends from not Ozone. Jesse's on Ozone, but yeah, one of my friends rides some Ozone gear. Yeah, KT gear. Armstrong F1. So yeah, we're all different
different things.
Yeah, different little gears, and we're all like, oh yeah, my foot's better than yours. No, mine is. And we're all just teasing each other. So
yeah. I mean,
pretty fun though.
Whatever you're riding is always the best. You know, I have a hard time with that because I have different brands. I'm like, oh, this is the best. I'm like, oh, but this is also the best. And they're like, so for me, it's cool that I can actually play around a little bit. Yeah. Do you test other people's stuff?
Oh, for sure.
You've got to, right?
Yeah.
You've got to know what's out there and what you're pushing, what North is pushing, and the gear, and see where it stacks up.
Yeah.
And smashing into reef and putting your foil through your wings in the waves. You must go through a bunch of gear, or are you managing to keep a setup for a while?
Yeah, I manage to. I try and baby my gear a lot, so I'll put my covers on and make sure it doesn't get scratched. But the reef, and I tell you, it just eats your foil away.
Yeah.
I'll get sucked up, and my foil just gets so scratched, and you can hear it in the water. If your board's your foil's scratching and you're getting pounded, you can hear a and it's just so painful.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you use a foil mainly, and if that foil gets scratched, I like to use one that I use for the waves, and then if it gets super scratched over time, it'll be my mainly wave foil, and I'll just keep sanding it down until it's a tiny piece of carbon left.
I mean, man, you guys are just
you're
putting the. I mean, that's exactly why a team would want somebody like you. You know, what other consumer is going to be doing what you're doing? No one.
Yeah.
An average rider is not putting themselves through that, because you've got an ultimate goal, right? You want to be the best.
For sure. I mean, an average rider might end up on the rocks too. But
yes, on the rocks. Yes.
I don't know as many times.
Maybe
as
more in the rocks.
I don't know about that.
No.
No, I've had a fair share of eating some rocks for breakfast.
Damn.
And dinner. Yeah, I've ended up a couple times, but yeah.
Why do you do that, man?
I don't know. I think the current just didn't want to let go. The waves just kept pushing me, and I was like, no. And I remember one time I just got like sucked up by like a wave and just like twisted in my leashes, and I was like, oh, this is not gonna be good.
Yeah.
And I like, you just wash up on the rocks, just like, oh.
So are the spots pretty? Are there some good spots here for proning?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Oahu better for proning, or you think you have better spots here?
Oahu's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I came here only for downwind, but I only brought one foil. I brought my downwind foil from North, the smallest one, and I was like, that's all I'm gonna do. And then I was like, in the mornings, no one's doing anything until noon.
Yeah.
12:31, and I was like, damn, I would love to go proning. And I asked the guys, they're like, man, if you prone in Puerto Rico, it's not good here.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, it's got to be good here. There's waves all up and down here in the coast,
Yeah,
and like
for
different
sure.
sections. But do you find it to be really good? You've got some decent spots. You've got a favorite.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite spot for proning?
I'd have to say my favorite spot is probably Thousand Peaks, Ukamahame. I mean, the waves, that's probably Maui foilers.
You're not giving away any secrets, right? Secret spots?
This is probably the most the most packed area on Maui when the waves are good.
For foilers in general, or for everyone?
Foiling, longboarding, everything. It's a super chill wave. So there's like a big like flat in the inside, and yeah, the waves just like they come through, and you can get a nice like an A-frame wave or like a only right, and yeah, there's a couple breaks throughout the whole area, and you can just go through either one, find out whichever wave is best. And the waves you can pump back pretty quick, so it's not too tiring, but after a while prone foiling gets to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, me and my friend discovered one pretty sick spot too, so that was pretty fun. Secret spot, no, but yeah.
Is that spot friendly to foilers?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple people. You always have some people that just they're not too stoked about everything.
Yeah.
So everyone has their own thing going on, but most of the foilers go there. So there's a couple peaks where like, oh yeah, mainly foilers would go there to give longboarders and like new surfers their space.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like a balance point.
What's the season here for waves? Because in Puerto Rico, it's summertime. It's pretty flat. We get more wind, so there's a lot more like it's a lot better for foiling, surfing. Is that the same here? Is summertime? I mean, we haven't really had any swell since I've been here. Is it more of like a winter thing? The same?
Yeah, I'd say winter is definitely when the waves come through. So big wave season is winter for sure. Most of like the big, like Jaws goes off, the outer reef, and then like in between you'll have like some good days when there's wind.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on Maui. There's never not going to be wind.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's funny because like everyone will like be big wave surfing and like winging in the waves and like outer specs, like Jaws, everything, and then it will just shut off for the summer. I mean, normally and occasionally there's like some swell on the south side and west side, but there hasn't been much this summer. It's been pretty slow, but yeah, it's just a lot of waves in the winter and then more like a windy and chillaxed in the summer.
I'm trying to think of like, oh, in the winter between this point I'm focused on this, and between these months I'm focused on this because the conditions are more conducive to it.
Yeah.
But I guess you're just doing everything all the time.
Yeah.
Whatever the day gives you.
For sure.
There's this focus. But man, the winging and the waves and like a little bit of a mix of freestyle within the waves. Like I guess that's kind of where that event is going. Did you watch the competitions and what it was doing? You've had some friends that were in it, and how do you think your level stacks up to these guys? You think you're ready to compete and do that?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I train with a bunch of the guys that are on tour too, so. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of close friends of mine, and we're all like training, and it's cool to see like, I'll watch the videos, and then I'll also like watch my videos, and you can just, you can like gauge yourself off of certain things and like try new stuff, and it's a lot about being innovative.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you can do the same thing really good over and over, it looks really cool sometimes, but it's also like a factor of like the newest and greatest thing.
Yeah.
So if you're like out there like creating new tricks, doing new tricks that no one's seen, then you're more likely to do good.
Are people trying to hide things? Like doing new things, but they don't want to share it with you because they don't want you to know what they're doing, or?
Yeah, I think some people do, but at the same time, if there's a video of it, almost anyone can.
I know. It's
yeah,
because
crazy.
It used to be like you'd watch the competitions because that's the only way that you could see all these new tricks and see what was going on. But now everything's like, you do something new today, it'll be on your social media in the afternoon because you've got to showcase yourself, and you're like, look at this, world's first, quadruple backflip on a wave, or whatever it is.
For sure.
And does the freestyle interest you? Like strictly freestyle?
At first, I like really liked it, and then I like went up to the small wave one time, Secrets. It was like a summer, like pretty small wave, and I was like just doing like some of the like doing turns and slashes, and I was like, oh, this is too fun not to do.
Yeah.
And freestyle is awesome. I like it, but I feel like surfing just always has my heart.
Yeah.
Like you can't beat it other than being out in the water and just catching these huge rollers and like giant waves, and you're just doing huge turns.
And I guess, every wave is different, right?
Yeah.
So what you can do on it, and then how it breaks, and how you feel about that wave in that situation might, fuel you to do something different and be innovative.
Yeah.
I think it's for just doing strictly freestyle, it's hard, get in your head, you're like, okay, 360, 360, 360, and then you're like backflip, 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 and then, you're always just either taking off and you're landing, you're taking off and you're landing, and I don't know how the creativity flows in that scenario.
Yeah.
For me, it would be difficult. But when you're riding a wave, you're all of a sudden on a peak. You're like, oh shit, let me do this, and you're like, it creates.
For sure.
I think the wave creates a lot of different creativity, and I like it a lot more.
Yeah.
Like for me, like for a viewer standpoint, because I can't do that stuff. Yeah. I know how to. I can wiggle on the wave and stuff, but to like really shred it and like throw some airs or do some wing passes and stuff, there's so much crazy shit you can do.
Yeah.
Do you have something in your head that you're working on very specifically, or it's more like in the moment you're out there just trying to see where your style lies, or do you have a plan?
Yeah, sometimes I'll be in the really small little waves, if it's summer and there's a tiny bump, I'll be just practicing some stuff, some tricks that I could do on the wave. And even on the beach, yesterday I was like, oh, what could I do on a wave? And I was just practicing holding the wing, oh, I could do this or that. And then if you just go out and try it, and then it doesn't hurt. So it's always just fun to
It doesn't hurt?
It does hurt sometimes. But I've had a fair share of face plants.
Do you wear a helmet?
Yeah, I wear a helmet for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't stop the water from getting up my nose and in my ears and everything.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I had a couple times tried a front flip, and I went and I did it, and I was still high up, and I was floating down, and my front hand slipped off, and I just I was like, oh no, and I just was straight to my stomach and my face.
Oh my
God. My friend was went by me doing circles around me, and I'm just I'm ugh, and he's just laughing at me, and it's.
Do you wear an impact vest as well?
No, I don't. I just go wetsuit top and helmet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you think you should, or why wouldn't you?
I think for if you're doing freestyle, impact definitely helps a lot. But for surfing, for me, I probably should actually. Yeah.
For for the winging that you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you think it would hold you back?
For me, it restricts my arms a little bit, and I just feel it's tight on me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
your range of movement is different.
It's a little uncomfortable.
Extra piece of equipment you got to bring with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just wetsuit. I think to myself, okay, if I fall on my stomach, I have a 2 millimeter wetsuit that should do something.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely helps.
Yeah.
I guess something would have to happen for you to, change and be like, okay, now I'm wearing an impact. Now, Mystic has these suits, those long john suits. They go down to your knees, whatever. They've got pads, up your sides.
Yeah.
you know, on your shoulders, on your back. Those are pretty sweet.
Yeah, I have one of those, so I think I might be using those soon. And just, yeah, I think it's always better to have like an extra layer.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't feel good to hit the water going pretty hard.
Yeah, because I remember we were in AWSI, and I asked you and Jesse, because I always see everybody here wearing wetsuits. I was like, do you guys always wear wetsuits? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I always thought the temperature here was very similar to Puerto Rico, because it's summer, it's warm, but the water is actually, it can be pretty chilly.
Yeah,
it's got like this, it's got a good temperature to it in the summertime. I don't know how it is in the winter. Man, in Puerto Rico, you go right now, it's hot. Like, there's no way we would be sitting outside like this and we would not be drenched in sweat because of the humidity, the heat. And then you go into the water and it's like a bathtub. Yeah. You know, you're doing a downwinder, like sweating your ass off. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, it's like you're just literally too hot to keep going. So you have to stop and get in the water, and then the water is not even that refreshing. Yeah. You're like, holy, but here it's awesome because the weather is, man, it's perfect. Mm-hmm. And then, so now I understand a little bit more why you'd wear a wetsuit. It's not that hot. The water is a bit, you know, it's chill. Yeah, for sure. So it's not that bad. I was thinking, man, why would you, in Hawaii, why would you wear a wetsuit? Yeah, I know. But now I understand it, but also it does provide a little bit of impact. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know if you guys get jellyfish here, but jellyfish stings, that's definitely helps, right? Yeah. And gives you a little bit of float, tiny bit. Yeah. I don't know.
I know. One of my most memorable things was like, okay, I'm gonna start wearing a wetsuit, like just to prevent this. Yeah. Was I was kiting one time, and I was like coming in, and I was like on like right about to like try and land my kite, and I got a huge man-o-war jellyfish sting, and it went from like my ear down to my like ankle.
No way.
And it was like, yeah, it was like really, and I was like, ah, and like I grabbed my bar, and I like pulled it in. And I was just like freaking out, and I was like trying to get it off of me, and I like launched myself onto the beach. Like I hit the sand. I was just like, ah! It was pretty funny, but
that's nasty.
I was like, oh, saved it.
Oh man, there you go. It's gonna be a good day today.
Yeah, definitely gonna go out there. That's how you know it's windy enough. You can just put your board out if it falls over.
Yeah, I mean, fuck.
Then, yeah,
that's awesome.
The trees, yeah.
Today, I looked at the forecast. Today is going to be good. Yeah. What are you doing today?
Probably going to just head down. Probably do a downwinder to the wing spot and then go wing. Oh, cool. That's my favorite. Is just chilling, doing turns all the way, and then once you get to your destination, you can just have fun.
So you go from here, from Maliko. Yeah. And you go down to Kanaha. Yeah. And that's where you wing.
Mostly, yeah. I'd say Kanaha, Sugar Cove. I like to go to Sugar Cove because it's super fun for winging there too.
Oh really?
Yeah, you can hit the outer reef on the way in.
And there's nobody there?
Yeah. It was like yesterday I went and it was just me, so it's pretty cool.
Nice.
So it's pretty fun. I mean, it's always nice when there's people, but yeah, it's still nice to have like
an open Sunday, ocean. Right? Yeah. It's the weekend, so it gets a little bit more busy.
For sure.
And what's that schedule look like? Like your parents or somebody would go down, drop you off, then they're gonna go winging, you'd meet them there and go, and they've got a wing there for you or something? Or how does that work?
Yeah, I just pack my gear.
You're really lucky, by the way.
I know.
You know.
When I get a car, it's not going to be as nice.
Because you got to do all this stuff yourself.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's like, oh yeah, once you get a car, it's amazing. And I'm like, I know, but then my mom won't drive me to the beach anymore. But yeah, thank you, Mom. Love you.
Yeah, what a great support system.
For sure, yeah. It's always nice. My mom will like drop me off some days. I'll go to the beach, she can go to work, and then I'll just like wing or do whatever, and then my dad can pick me up after work. So, but yeah.
Living the dream, Marley.
I know.
So why Gnarly Marley? How'd that come about? Who called you that first?
I think, yeah, it was my cousin. My cousin. I was making an Instagram account. I was probably like I was younger. I was like 6 or 7 years old. And my cousin Nina, she was like, oh yeah, like, you gotta make it like something cool. And then like, they had a zip line in their childhood house, so they're older now, but let's find something good. And I was like, yeah, let's go, yeah. And I was like young, like little, and I was always just doing like gnarly stuff, I guess you could say. I remember I like went on the zip line, and then I like fell off. I like landed on pine cones, and then they're like, oh, that was gnarly. And then I like just over time skating and everything, everyone's like, oh, that was gnarly, and then it's just Gnarly Marley. It kind of rhymes.
That's cool.
So yeah, then she was like, oh yeah, let's make that your Instagram. So then my Instagram was gnarly.marley.
And that's how it stuck.
Yeah.
Just Gnarly Marley. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know.
It matches pretty well.
Yeah.
You're doing some gnarly stuff, man.
Yeah, and then I'll still hear it sometimes. Like if I'll do something and someone's like, "Oh, it was gnarly," like someone will like say, "Oh, it was gnarly, Marley," and I was like, "Oh, that's why it's like that." It's like yeah. So just a little reminder.
Just came about.
Yeah, for sure.
When you were 7, 8.
Yeah, 7 or 8.
I just keep on forgetting how young you are and how much stuff you've done.
Yeah.
How many sports you've gotten into. You've got so much ahead of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's really cool. I want to kind of finish up with talking about did you do all 3 races?
Yeah, I did. I did the Triple Crown, the Koa.
And how did you do that before? Ever on like a SUP, like on the 15-footers, or only the AWSI, or you never did any of those events?
Yeah, growing up, I think every year when downwinding was like super popular, I'd always do the paddle AWSI and the Olokai.
Okay.
So those were like pretty big, and yeah, I mean, I'd always do those like downwinding SUP on like I remember I think it was like a 12-foot board from Zane Schweitzer. And it was just like my favorite board. It was like a super cool starboard. I had like stickers on everything, Grom stickers and like quick blade, and I was just like, oh my god, this is awesome. And then like after I got into downwinding, I was like, oh, this is even better. Yeah. Like I don't know if I could ever do like a 5-hour channel crossing on the SUP.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, oh my god, like Kai Lenny, Connor Baxter, Zane Schweitzer, like they're all doing like this is so cool. Like they paddled for 5 hours from Molokai to Oahu. Like I want to do that. And then I did it foiling, and I was like, oh, I'm glad I did not do that for 5 hours.
Yeah, that's wild.
So yeah, one of my younger friends, he did the Maui to Molokai on a regular stand-up foil, and a regular stand-up paddle. Yeah. And he's younger, Kai. So yeah, his name's also Kai. But yeah, he did it in 5 hours, and I was like, that's brutal. Commitment. That's insane. Like I don't think I could have done that now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you compare one to the other, you're like, why would I do that if I could do this on a foil? Faster. Yeah. More smooth. You know. I don't know. But back then, if you have nothing to compare it to, there's no faster craft. Then it's still cool. Yeah. So how was that? How were the crossings for you this year? And the whole thing, because you need to have a boat, you know, you've got your mom was there on the boat with you. You guys have to plan this whole thing, and how was your mentality going into it? You wanted to do it for fun, or you really wanted to you're really focused on the result? Yeah, I was super stoked to do it. I've always wanted to do it. It's been one of my dreams to do it. I mean, I've always been like, looking up and watching like all the big names and big guys do it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this when I'm a bit older. Yeah. And of course, you always want to do good, but at the end of the day, if you have the most fun, you did the best. So it's keeping a good mentality. But yeah, I was super stoked to like have these insane foils, and I was like, okay, I want to like race this and like see how good I could do on these like first gen developed foils. Yeah. So I mean, I think I did pretty good on like the first gen foils and like first year downwinding. So I was. Yeah, I'm super stoked with the new downwind foils from North. For sure. Like they did a great job. The smaller one, I mean, you must need a smaller one. Yeah. Right. Like I only brought the 750. That's a small. That's all I brought here. But I brought one foil, which is crazy, the range to it. Yeah. Right. But for you and your weight and the speed, and I mean the foils that I heard were going on in that race. There's some rumors of some crazy foils, for sure. Like 17 aspect ratio foils. Yeah, there's some like wild. Yeah. Like I had no idea. And I mean at that point, like people that are putting out foils that are that crazy. Yeah. I mean, no other foil could keep up. No. You know. Yeah. But yeah, super stoked with the new line. Yeah. I don't know when it's going to be released. I think I see it on their website. So it's on their North Kiteboarding website. They haven't released it yet, like an announcement. So you were super stoked with that because you're comparing it to whoever else is out there. Yeah. Right, and they stack up pretty high, which is great. Yeah. So the first race was the M2M. Paddle and Mua was the first one. Paddle and Mua, right? That's the short one. Yeah, the short one. And then M2M was the first crossing. So before which I think is actually everyone else that I've talked to, they got all freaked out because of the conditions, right? They go there and they're like, oh shit, there's no wind, right? There's this whole thing that goes on in your head. You're like, what foil should I use? And I think in your case is exactly why I only brought one foil with me to Maui, is you had no decision to make on your foil. Do I assume right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you have another foil that you were thinking about using?
I mean, I had the 900, but that was just, for me, that one's like a little bit too big. It's like, the 7 for me is a little bit on the bigger side. Yeah. But I was like, all right, I know that like if everyone's running bigger foils and I have a smaller foil because I'm just still a little guy, not too big yet. Yeah. Need to put on some more weight, get a little taller. But I was just like, all right, so I'm gonna. Did
it cross your mind to ever put the 900 on, or?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, really? I was always like, maybe. I mean, if it's forecasted for like barely any wind, then I will. Huh. But
I'm surprised to hear that actually, because I know what that foil can do. I know where its low end is for me and my weight and my skills. I'm sure you're way better than me. So I know where that foil is, and I'm like, that would, for me, it would be so easy to just go in there and be like, that's the foil I'm going to use, and I know. And I thought for your weight class, you wouldn't even think about using the 900. I'm surprised actually by that. I mean,
it's tough. You always have everyone's like talking about the reports and everything, and then you're like, it gets in your head. You're like, oh, should I go a bit bigger and be safer?
I hate that. I hate having like this. Like I have it all the time because I have all these different brands and foils, and when I go to a spot and I have to think about what foil I'm gonna use, and that's like it's a conflict in my head of like what size wing, what size foil. Sometimes it's nice to just go and you know that this foil works really well for this, and like you know that you go there and you have no other choice, but it's never like that. You know, you've got all these different foils and things to choose from, and then you've got all the competitors, like, you know, everyone's you're like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, what's he doing? Oh, oh my god, what are the conditions doing? So it's
I mean, I did the run. I did the Pailolo channel once before. Did a practice run with Zane, Andrea, Shep, and all those guys, and Pace, and a bunch of friends. Yeah, we all did it together, and then it was actually worse than the race, so it was good to like do it. And I did it on a 750 that one time. Yeah. And I was like, all right, if I did it in lighter conditions than this, then I can definitely do it on the 7. But then at the same time, I was like, oh, like everyone's going bigger, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go with the faster, smaller one. Yeah. And then I had to make a call to Boat Harbor. I was like, I don't know. I think I'm just going to leave the 900 here. So I think I think I made a good call.
Yeah, for sure.
The 7 was more than enough for me. So.
Did you dry run the M2M, or did you fall a couple times?
I dried it.
Yeah.
Dry run, yeah.
Nice.
So same with the M2O. So
and what was your result in the M2M? Do you know your placing? So is there?
Can't remember.
Are there different categories of also age groups?
Yeah, it was. They had
they split it up like that.
Yeah, they had like all around, I think, and then they had the women's. They had like the men's, and then they had the seniors. I think, I don't know. I think it was like.
Come on, you got to know your results. The Marley
legends. I remember my time, but this is something like 200 people. But
damn. Yeah. That's wild.
So yeah.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty cool.
Crazy.
So I think it took me like 2 hours and like 5 minutes or 3 minutes, something like that. So
for the M2M?
For the M2M, yeah. Yep. So I took a little too far of a line, one direction too far, and then I just cut in the other direction too hard. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that wasn't too good.
Yeah, because it's. But, I mean, there's one thing about being fast, having good cardio, having a good mentality, having the right gear, conditions, and then also picking your line. Yeah. Right. Then you got to pick your line. In the M10, were there a bunch of boats around as well, like creating a bunch of chop, or that one you didn't need a chase boat, right?
No, you didn't. We did though. We had a filmer, so it was nice. But that one was a lot nicer because there weren't any boats, so there was no wake. That was pretty nice.
Yeah, makes it a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like your line plays a big part of it. So like shortest distance wins. So if you can get like the best line on the fastest foil, then you're pretty much set. Yeah. So it's just there's a lot of factors that go into play. So. Yeah. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you have a plan going into it of like you're gonna pump all day long, or you're gonna flow with it, or did you have like a pace? You're like, okay, my pace is good, or you just kind of just ran with it?
Yeah. I was just like trying to just trying to go as fast as I could. I was like, all right, I'm pumping this. Like, I'm just gonna like try and go and not over exhaust myself too quick. Yeah. And yeah, it was a nice.
Because can you flat water start this thing? This 750?
Yeah, I have before. So, but yeah, I got a good start in the beginning. So I got ahead of a bunch of people. I was like, all right, nice. Yeah, there was like a line. It was funny. In the beginning, there was like a line with the boats, but it was like a diagonal line.
Yeah.
And then everyone was like pushing forward, and I was like, I don't want to get disqualified.
Yeah.
So then I waited a bit, and then everyone's ahead of me. I was like, all right, I'm fine. So then I like got up, and I was pretty far ahead for a bit. And then yeah, everyone just spread out, and I was like, oh wait, there's like nobody here.
Yeah, you have no idea where you are, what you're doing, what your pace. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I remember the start line of one of those SUP races that I did in Hood River, and yeah, it's like you're on this line, you're like, don't pass this, but then you're drifting, and everyone's drifting, and you're like, well, I don't know, like where you end up. I guess there's just an imaginary float line, which is funny.
Sure. So, yeah.
That's cool.
But it was cool, yeah. I was always kind of like, okay, this is my last line. I kind of want to stay on that, and I'm always just trying to like go like a little bit closer to my previous line, which like when you're in between the two islands, you can kind of like gauge yourself off where you were. So yeah.
It's still hard. I mean, the perspective of like how far you are, you could be miles
for sure.
off a line, right?
Yeah, it's tough.
Depends where you're looking. That's cool. And then how was the M2O? Because that's a lot longer. Yeah. You didn't practice that run.
That was my first time just doing it. So
everybody has a chase boat. Yeah. And I heard that was really tough in itself because it's just, man, when I go out and I downwind and one boat crosses my path going upwind or downwind, you feel it. And all of a sudden it gets all weird and washy. So that must have been a huge factor. Yeah. And so how was the M2O for you?
M2O was good. Yeah, I mean, we followed the boat's run line, so
I was following, like when it goes on, everybody has like a little dot. Yeah. Because you got your GPS and stuff. So I marked, there was a ton of dots. Yeah. And I marked who I wanted to follow. You were one of them, and I was like pinpointing where people were, and it was super. It was hectic. It's so weird sitting there in front of a computer watching dots, and you're like, oh, go. You're like, oh shit. Yeah. Oh, what's happening? You're like, oh. And then your mom was doing some live videos, and then Edo, I think it was Edo's girlfriend, was doing some live videos, so we were following that. It was super funny how everyone was kind of the little bit of downwind foil community that was following that. It was exciting to see that they kind of make it interactive. If not, then how does it grow, right? So it's really cool to see your dot moving. Yeah, my aunt, she sent me a video like during the race. She was like sending like a video from her phone. She was like watching it, and like me and my friend were like next to each other, like back and forth, and she's like, go, go, and she's just like yelling at everybody. It was like pretty funny. That's so funny. So yeah, but it's cool. It's I mean, it was tough with the boats. Yeah. It was like everyone's boat was like out at once. But I mean, everyone's in the same. Yeah. Everyone's going through the same thing. Yeah, right? For sure. So, did you come off foil a couple times on that one? No. No. Dry still, but really? Yeah. Damn. So, nice. Yeah, I know. I was like, oh wow. But, did you exhaust yourself on that one? Not too much. I think the only thing was I got stuck behind a boat wake. So this one person was in front of me for a little bit, and for like the first hour and a half, their boat was like in front of me, like almost. An hour and a half. Yeah. So for just a little bit. Yeah. Oh my God. I was like trying to cut like away, but then like she was like on the same line as me. Yeah. And like the boat was just right there, and my boat was trying to find me. And after a little bit, they found me, but then they were just like watching, and I was just stuck behind the wake for like an hour and a half. Oh damn! But it was, and then I got out and around them, and it was good, and it was open water, so. Yeah, because that's hard, because you're following the wind swell, and you're pumping straight. If you veer off like this and try to get away, then you've lost. That's it. Yeah. You're done. Yeah, for sure. That's crazy. So. I didn't even think about that. You're like in a line, and to actually change your trajectory, like to go somewhere else, how much effort it would take, or how much time you'd lose from that. So that's wild. I know, and like everyone at the start, everyone went, and then the boats were like cutting across. I got pretty close to one, and like one of the boats was like right next to me, and I was like, whoa. That's crazy. And then I saw like one of my friends, he like fell in the beginning, and it was like gnarly water. Like, oh man, to try to get up in that? Yeah, it was like open ocean swell, which is hard enough to get up in. Yeah. And then there was like boat wakes, and like it was tough. And I was like, oh man. But, to fall, I heard it was really like in that brutal, in the middle there sections, just like can't even stand on your board, so wishy-washy. Did you have a couple close calls where you came off foil, or you felt pretty solid?
Yeah, I had a couple and I like almost fell and I was like, oh, that was close. But I knew that I was like, and then once I got farther in, I was like, oh, if I fall, I'm gonna be pretty tired.
Yeah.
So like I don't want to fall right here or right there. Like I just got to keep going. So then I was just trying to, I mean, did a lot of balance training too in the gym. So
yeah,
you train for like everything. So it helps. Yeah.
What was your time on that one?
I think my time was 2:36.
Oh.
Was my final time. Yeah,
nice.
2 hours and 36 minutes.
So your pace was a lot faster than the M2M.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. There was a bit more wind too, so it helped. The swell was bigger. There was a bit more wind, and took the right line that time. I got a really good line, I felt.
Yeah.
So I mean, first time.
Same foil.
Yeah. So 750, that really helped.
Nice.
But yeah, I liked it. It was fun. It was a really good experience. I was super stoked to finish.
And you're gonna do it next year, I assume?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to. So yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to hear that whole downwinding, you know, how long you've been in it, which is not very long.
Yeah.
You know, and then your results I know were really good.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you. I was right with Fiona Wild.
Okay.
So she's pretty. Yeah, she's an insane downwind foiler and regular paddler. So it was pretty cool. I was up there with her. So
nice.
She's a good family friend of ours too.
That's cool.
But yeah, we were like after everything. Everyone's like comparing times after. We're like, oh yeah, like who did this? But even now, all the times, it's so hard to gauge. So, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
Nice.
So yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, stoked. I'm stoked that North is launching their new downwind foils and that they're working so well.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get some smaller ones, which I think is always the case, right?
Yeah, I mean, you always need something smaller.
They got to make smaller foils for Marley.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, it's nice to work with them, and we can just get feedback and like, all right, this is what other people are doing. This is what.
Yeah.
So it's a nice like. Yeah, since over here is like the hot spot, it's nice to always think, oh, what do you see? And then I can just like walk around like and just look at everyone's stuff and so just take a peek at what they're doing and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Are you a big part of their development with the foils? They send you a lot of prototypes and you give your feedback?
Yeah, I would think I am. I mean, I want to say Hawaii is probably like the #1 spot for downwinding.
Are there any other North foil riders here on the island?
Not in Hawaii, I don't think. No.
Damn.
So
all alone here, Marley.
I know. It was me and Jesse for a bit, and then Jesse abandoned me, so...
He abandoned you.
No.
That's rough.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. He's doing good, so... But yeah, it's pretty cool.
And you had one other North rider here that was doing the race with you from Australia.
Yeah, Adrian DeStong.
Yeah, so we were like, we've been chatting back and forth, and we were talking about the horizon and then the foils when they're coming out, and
for sure.
And so that was cool that you had a team member with you. So that's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. He was staying with us, so he's cool. But I love that guy, man.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was super cool to like have someone else who like also rides North too.
Yeah.
So and then when you were riding North, I was like, oh, this is sick. Like I'm not the only one riding North.
Yeah.
And it's like cool to see like everyone else riding it too.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked. I had a couple people talking to me about it, and I'm like, yeah, like this is, it's a really good foil. Like you're gonna definitely want.
Yeah, I'm stoked that when I try them back to back and I let people try them or they see them, they're like, oh damn, like look what they did. And so that's always cool to feel like, you know, your brand has your back.
Yeah, for sure.
Your equipment is like at the top, so it's good. It's a good time to be part of it. I mean, North came in a little bit late with their foils, but as it's developed, it's been amazing, and they've been like really pushing it the last couple of years, talking with the team and hanging out with them and at the AWSI. So you can see, man, you see their. Like I guess it's every brand, but I see it very closely with North because I'm a part of it, so are you. They're just so passionate about what they're doing and what they want to put out, and they're very careful about what they put out, right? And that's why this downwind thing, it takes a little bit of time, you know, and they're a little bit behind again, but it's better to be a little bit behind than to put something out that's not good enough, right? So
yeah, they're super good at taking a step back, reviewing and everything, like looking at this, and then making a good first foil, like a really nice V1. Yeah. And then it's like, that's like a really good one, and then even later they can come out with a better one even quicker. Yeah. So it's just, it's super cool. Like, I mean, it's better to like take a second and then come out with something good than to just like push something out really fast. Yeah. So I think they're really good at that.
Yeah. I always have to remind myself of that because I'm like, oh man, I wish it would be like, you know, now. Yeah. But You know, it's super important that
for sure.
For you, for the consumer, for everybody that's getting into this gear, that it's like it's ready.
Yeah.
You know? But man, things are moving so fast, and I mean, you're in the epicenter of it.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like it's like that. I don't know. And Maui, it's just there's so like downwinding. I never heard about downwinding. People have been downwinding here for years. And all of a sudden I'm like, downwinding? I'm like, what is that? I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it for years already. So it's super cool to be here and have you on the team and be here in this space and have such a great support system with your family and them to be part of that as well, you know.